When a woman starts giving the same signals again and again, it's not by mistake. It's a silent confession that words can't express. And if you can't read it, you might lose something real before it even begins. When a woman starts to develop an emotional attachment, one of the first and most visible transformations happens in her energy. You can feel it before she ever says a word. There's a different kind of warmth in the way she looks at you, a softness in her tone, a calmness that surrounds her presence whenever you are near. Her energy shifts from casual to deeply connected, not because she plans it or even notices it, but because emotional attachment cannot be hidden. It leaks through her eyes, her laughter, her silences, her body language, and even in the pauses between her words. It's something that can't be faked or controlled because it comes from a place of pure feeling. She might act like she's composed and indifferent, but if you're attentive, you'll see that her entire vibe changes the moment you walk into the room. You'll notice how her eyes linger on you longer than before, not in a way that's obvious or flirtatious, but in a way that feels genuine, like she's studying your expressions, memorizing your presence, trying to understand the unspoken emotions behind your words. Her laughter becomes more frequent and effortless when you're around, even if the joke isn't particularly funny. That's because her energy responds to yours. Your presence makes her feel at ease, safe, and emotionally alive. She doesn't have to force conversations or pretend to be interested. Her natural self emerges around you. It's as if her guard drops without her realizing it. And that change is not about attraction alone. It's about emotional comfort. She begins to glow differently, not because of makeup or appearance, but because she feels emotionally aligned with someone who understands her. When a woman is emotionally attached, her energy becomes nurturing without her intention. She may not say much, but her presence starts to feel like comfort. You'll sense that she listens differently, not just hearing your words, but absorbing them. She starts remembering small details about you that even you forget. That's the depth of her emotional attention. She'll notice how your tone changes when you're upset, how your silence carries meaning, how your smile hides tiredness. Her energy becomes tuned to you in ways she can't explain. She feels your emotions almost as if they were her own. It's a kind of emotional empathy that only happens when her heart begins to connect at a deeper level. Over time, this shift in her energy becomes even more visible to others. People around her may notice that she seems lighter, happier, more emotionally expressive. When she talks about something you said or did, her face unconsciously lights up. Even when she's trying to act normal, her excitement betrays her calm. She becomes more thoughtful, more self-aware, and sometimes even more protective of her emotions because she now has something or someone that holds real emotional value. You'll see how her priorities subtly change. She starts responding to your messages a bit faster. Her tone becomes more patient. Her words carry more meaning. She may become quieter around others, but more open with you. Her energy naturally flows toward you like a magnet, and it's not about possession or obsession. It's about emotional resonance. She has started to align her emotional rhythm with yours, often without realizing she's doing it. And that's how her energy changes when she's truly becoming attached. When a woman starts prioritizing you, it's not about grand gestures or loud declarations. It's about the small, consistent choices she begins to make without consciously realizing it. You start noticing that somehow you've become a part of her daily rhythm. Her day might still be filled with responsibilities, work, family, or personal goals, but between all of that, she starts to carve out space for you. That's how emotional attachment begins to reveal itself, not in big promises, but in the quiet rearrangement of her time, her thoughts, and her energy. When she's emotionally connected, your presence starts to matter more than your position in her life. You might not even ask for her time, but she'll find reasons to reach out, to check in, to make sure you're okay. Even when she's tired or busy, she'll reply, not out of obligation, but because not responding would feel incomplete. You become someone she wants to share her moments with, her happiness, her worries, her random thoughts. That's how you know you've started to matter on a deeper level. She begins to plan her schedule around you in subtle ways. Maybe she stays awake a little longer just to continue a conversation, or she finishes her tasks early so she can be free when you're available. It's not about control or dependence. It's about preference. You become the part of her day she looks forward to, the calm in her chaos, the connection that brings her peace. If she's had a long day, she might not say it directly, but the first thing she wants to do is talk to you because somehow hearing your voice or reading your message makes everything else feel lighter. She starts remembering your routines, when you're usually free, what time you eat, how your day goes, and she aligns herself accordingly. That's how her affection starts to show up in action. When a woman prioritizes someone emotionally, she gives her most limited resource, time. And that's one of the purest indicators of attachment. You'll notice that her priorities shift not just in her time, but also in her emotional responses. She starts considering your opinions, your comfort, your feelings before making certain decisions. If she knows something might hurt or disappoint you, she'll hesitate or rethink it. When she buys something, listens to a song, or visits a place, your thoughts will cross her mind because you've quietly taken a space there. Even when she's with others, she's often mentally connected to you, wondering what you'd say, how you'd react, or whether you'd enjoy the same moment. She might not say it openly, but everything around her starts to have traces of you in it. Her priorities become emotionally guided. She also starts to protect your connection in subtle ways. If someone speaks about you, she listens carefully, defends you when needed, and values your reputation because your image matters to her. When she plans something for herself, she thinks about how it might affect the time you share or the rhythm you've built together. Even in disagreements, her intention isn't to win the argument, but to save the bond. You become someone she doesn't want to lose, and that feeling makes her thoughtful, patient, and more emotionally present. She begins to balance her life differently, not giving up her independence, but naturally weaving you into the fabric of her routine. That's how prioritization looks when it's born out of genuine emotional connection. It's not forced, it's not transactional, and it's not dramatic. It's quiet, consistent, and full of meaning. When a woman begins to develop an emotional attachment, one of the most profound transformations happens when her concern slowly evolves into genuine care. At first, it might appear as simple curiosity. She asks if you've eaten, how your day was, or if you got home safely. But as her feelings deepen, those questions stop being casual. They start carrying emotion. Her words aren't just polite gestures anymore. They become reflections of her heart. She starts to notice the things that most people overlook. If you sound tired, she'll ask what's wrong. If you go quiet, she'll sense it even through text. When you're distant, she'll feel that something isn't right before you even say it. Her care becomes instinctive. It's no longer something she decides to do. It's something she can't help but do. Because when a woman is emotionally attached, your comfort becomes part of her peace. She starts paying attention to the smallest details, the tone of your voice, the rhythm of your words, the way you respond to certain topics. She starts learning your patterns almost unconsciously. She knows what makes you smile and what weighs on your mind. When you're stressed, she'll try to lighten your mood in her own way, sometimes through humor, sometimes through quiet support, sometimes just by listening. She doesn't always have to offer solutions. Her care shows in her presence. She knows when to talk and when to stay silent. She knows when you need motivation and when you just need to be heard. Her care becomes emotional intelligence in motion, and it's something no one can teach. It comes naturally when the heart starts to connect. You'll notice that her concern shifts from words to actions. She'll remind you to rest, to eat on time, to stop overworking yourself. Not because she's trying to control you, but because she genuinely worries about your well-being. She'll send you something small, a message, a quote, a note, just to brighten your day. She might not express it dramatically, but she shows up in quiet, consistent ways. When you talk about something that bothers you, she'll remember it days or weeks later and ask how you're feeling now. That's not attention-seeking behavior. That's emotional care. Her mind holds space for you even when you're not around. She begins to measure her words so they don't hurt you. She becomes mindful of what she says, and she starts protecting your emotional space as if it's her own. This transformation from concern to care also shows in how she reacts to your struggles. When you're frustrated or low, she doesn't just feel sympathy, she feels your pain. If she can't fix it, it bothers her deeply because she's emotionally invested in your happiness. You might notice her checking up on you without any reason, just to make sure you're okay. She'll be there when you need someone, even if it means rearranging her plans. Her care is selfless, quiet, and deeply human. It's not about wanting something in return. It's about feeling connected enough that your happiness directly affects hers. When a woman reaches that stage, her care becomes her language of love, a reflection of her emotional sincerity, something that flows effortlessly from the heart without expectation or demand. When a woman becomes emotionally attached, one of the most revealing shifts you'll notice is how she starts becoming emotionally transparent. It doesn't happen all at once. It unfolds gradually, like a flower opening its petals when it begins to trust the sunlight. In the beginning, she may guard her feelings carefully, speaking in measured tones and keeping her emotions behind carefully built walls. But as she starts to feel safe with you, those walls begin to soften. She no longer feels the need to hide behind strength or composure. She starts allowing you to see her as she truly is, with her flaws, her fears, her insecurities, and her dreams. That kind of openness doesn't come easily. For most women, being transparent isn't a sign of weakness, it's a deep act of trust. It means she believes you won't misuse her honesty, that her emotions will be safe in your presence. Her transparency begins in small ways. Maybe she starts sharing stories from her past, things she usually keeps private. She might talk about moments that hurt her or the experiences that shaped who she is. She'll tell you about her childhood memories, the lessons she learned from heartbreak, or the people she no longer talks to but still remembers. As she speaks, you'll feel the difference. This isn't small talk. This is emotional truth. She's letting you into the deeper layers of her mind. She doesn't need to impress you. She wants you to understand her. She starts showing sides of herself she usually hides from the world, the vulnerable, raw, and unpolished sides that most people never get to see. When she laughs freely, when she cries without shame, when she shares her silence with you, that's emotional transparency. It's her unspoken way of saying, I trust you enough to be real. You'll also notice that her emotional honesty begins to reflect in the way she communicates. Instead of pretending everything is fine when it's not, she starts expressing what she truly feels. She'll tell you when she's hurt, when something bothers her, when she needs reassurance, or when she just wants you to listen. She won't hide behind sarcasm or avoidance because attachment has made her open. She values the connection enough to be truthful about her emotions, even when it's uncomfortable. This kind of openness comes with risk because every time she shares her feelings, she's giving you a piece of her heart. And yet she does it willingly because emotional transparency feels more natural than emotional distance once she's attached. Her vulnerability also extends to how she reacts emotionally. When she's happy, you'll see it without her trying to hide it. When she's hurt, her silence will say more than words. She may share her doubts, her fears about the future, or the moments that make her anxious, not because she needs advice, but because she needs you to understand the world inside her. She starts trusting that you won't judge her for being emotional, and that faith allows her to be genuine. Emotional transparency is a woman's way of saying she's no longer performing, no longer pretending. She's showing you the version of herself that's real, even if it's messy, emotional, or uncertain. It's a rare kind of honesty that comes only when her heart feels safe enough to be seen completely. When a woman becomes emotionally attached, her silence begins to hold more meaning than her words. It's easy to notice when she laughs, talks, or expresses joy. But the truth of her attachment often hides in the quiet moments, the pauses between conversations, the way she withdraws slightly when her emotions become too heavy to put into words. Her silence isn't emptiness, it's full of feeling, full of thoughts she's too careful or too afraid to speak aloud. When a woman cares deeply, she doesn't always know how to express it. Sometimes she fears being misunderstood, or she worries that her emotions might be too much for the other person to handle. So instead of speaking, she becomes quiet. And in that quietness, she says everything her heart feels. Her silence becomes her language, and only someone who truly pays attention will be able to understand it. You might notice that her silence comes after moments of emotional intensity, after a disagreement, after something you said that touched her deeply, or even after a moment that made her feel connected to you in ways she can't describe. In those times, she doesn't rush to explain or justify herself. Instead, she retreats inward, processing every detail, every emotion, every unspoken word. Her silence is not avoidance, it's reflection. She's feeling things deeply and trying to make sense of them. A woman's silence, when she's attached, is not coldness. It's her heart's way of communicating what her mouth cannot say. She might go quiet because she's afraid of saying something that could damage the connection. She might pause because she wants to choose her words carefully, not out of manipulation, but out of care. She knows the value of what you share, and her silence becomes her effort to protect it. There are moments when her silence speaks of worry, when she feels something is changing, when she senses emotional distance, or when she misses you but doesn't want to seem needy. You'll feel that silence in her messages, in the delay of her replies, in the way her energy feels softer but distant. Her quietness is her way of waiting for emotional reassurance without directly asking for it. It's a silent question. Do you still feel what I feel? Hidden beneath her calm exterior. And sometimes her silence is filled with love. She doesn't need to talk because being near you, listening to you, or just sitting in the same space feels enough. She finds peace in shared stillness, where words become unnecessary. That's when her attachment becomes visible not through expression, but through presence. There's also a kind of silence that comes when she's hurt. When she goes quiet, it's rarely out of indifference. It's because she's feeling too much. She might be disappointed, confused, or simply afraid to say something that would reveal how deeply she's affected. Her silence becomes her shield, her way of protecting herself from vulnerability. Yet even then, her eyes, her expressions, and her body language reveal the emotions she's trying to hide. Her silence is not a wall. It's a bridge waiting for understanding. It's filled with unspoken words, with care that hasn't found expression, with emotions that haven't yet turned into speech. When a woman is emotionally attached, her silence isn't the absence of feeling, it's the overflow of it. It carries her love, her fear, her patience, and her longing, all intertwined in a quiet that speaks louder than any confession ever could. When a woman becomes emotionally attached, one of the most beautiful and telling transformations happens quietly. She starts seeing a we instead of a me. It's not an instant shift, nor is it something she plans. It happens naturally without her realizing it as her emotions begin to weave you into her sense of life, her plans, and her dreams. The more her attachment deepens, the less her world revolves around just her own path. Instead, she begins to imagine a shared one. Her decisions, her thoughts, even her small choices start to carry your reflection in them. She begins to think in terms of us, not just me. This isn't about dependency or losing her individuality. It's about connection, belonging, and emotional partnership. A woman's heart expands when she truly cares. Her attachment makes her consider how her life can align with yours, how her world can make space for someone she values deeply. You start to notice it in her language first. The way she talks begins to change subtly. She no longer says, "I want to travel, but we should go there someday." It's no longer my dream home. It's the kind of home we'd love. It's a gentle, almost unconscious inclusion that speaks volumes about where her emotions have reached. She starts to view her future not as a solo story, but as something shared, something that could be built together. When she plans something, you're part of the vision. When she sets a goal, she wonders how it might fit with yours. This kind of thinking doesn't come from habit. It comes from genuine emotional connection. Her heart begins to see you as part of her long-term picture, not just her present comfort. She's not daydreaming out of fantasy. She's emotionally aligning her life with someone who feels like home. This shift is also visible in how she makes decisions. She starts taking your opinions seriously, not because she can't decide for herself, but because she values your perspective. She'll ask what you think, not just out of courtesy, but because she wants to know how her choices might affect both of you. When a woman starts seeing a we, it means you've become emotionally relevant to her sense of direction. She's no longer navigating life just for herself. She's considering how her actions ripple into your shared connection. Her empathy deepens. She starts making compromises that feel natural, small sacrifices that come with no complaints. You'll see it in how she handles time, priorities, and plans. You'll sense that your happiness has become quietly tied to hers, not in a possessive way, but in a deeply emotional one. Even in her imagination, you begin to appear without her inviting you. When she watches a movie, hears a song, or thinks about the future, your presence becomes part of her emotional landscape. Her idea of home starts to carry your essence. Her idea of success, peace, or comfort starts to include you somewhere in the picture. She may not say it out loud, but her actions will show it. In the way she shares her dreams with you, in the way she talks about the future with a quiet sense of inclusion. Her heart has already made space for you, not as a temporary guest, but as someone she hopes will stay. Seeing a we instead of me is her emotional evolution. It's her way of silently choosing togetherness over independence, not because she needs it, but because she finally wants it.